Hey guys, it's Kaylee. I am back with another deep dive video. You guys have requested it, and today we are going to be doing a deep dive of men's golf brands. I think this video is perfect for the upcoming season because people are starting to buy activewear and they're going out to golf. So I couldn't think of a more beneficial video than for me to go ahead and do the research and to share it with you guys. Traditionally, every single year, the men's, specifically men's, golf wear category has been a hot seller in my store, and I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of the types of things that sell within these categories. Today specifically, we're going to be talking about men's clothing. If you guys want to see a women's golf wear video, make sure to put it in the comments down below. So I researched a ton. I got a whole notebook here full of stuff. Went on different websites, looked at comps, all the things. And I was able to find a ton of different men's golf wear brands, and I broke them down into a couple of different categories. So I've got 7 bolos that are like, no matter what you pick up, great sell-through rates and selling for pretty good money. Then I have 7 of, we're just gonna call them honorable mentions because they do not have a 100% sell-through rate, but depending on what you get in them, they do pretty well. So for those ones, you're gonna have to make sure to do your research. I will also be putting up images here on the screen of the tags. So before I start going into the brands, I just wanna say that there are a couple different factors that I have noticed within the men's golf wear category that make a big difference and can make a big impact on how much you can list the item for, as well as sell-through rate. Some of those things include whether they have an embroidery on them. Lots of men's golf wear stuff, especially polo shirts, have a company embroidery or a golf resort embroidery. And those things can make a huge difference either in the positive direction or the negative direction. We'll talk about some of those things here in a moment. Also, the size really matters, but especially for men's golf wear, larger sizes tend to make a pretty big impact. And the last thing I notice is anything that is printed. So if you have a plain polo shirt versus a printed polo shirt, something a little bit more multicolor, it seems to make a big difference on price, whereas having the printed one, you're able to get more for the item. So I thought I would share those with you, just, my findings over the years. Now diving into the actual brands. And all of these brands, by the way, most of them make, polo shirts, they make zip pullovers, they make pants. All of these brands in this first category, which are the bolos, I would say you could pick up just about anything in this brand, including up to maybe hats or belts. As always, do your own research, but that is what I have found with these brands. And if you think you've heard of all of these brands, I can almost guarantee that you haven't heard of all of them, because there were a couple in here that I found by looking at different websites versus just checking comps that I was able to find that I knew nothing about. The first up, and one of my favorite ones to sell, is G4. And so on the tag, it's actually G with a /4. I have sold many different things, including a hat in this brand, and super high sell-through rates. I have not found a single thing, including in the women's category, which I'll just throw that as a bonus in here. They do make women's stuff too, and everything sells really well for me in this brand, especially the golf polos, especially in the men's department. Next up, this is another one of my favorite brands to sell, and I feel like this is on the same wavelength as the first one, G4, and that is Rhoback. R-H-O back, like the dog. This brand has a very simple logo that can sometimes be passed over, just like a little outline of a dog. And I have found, especially at the bins, that a lot of people do not know about this brand. And so I'm usually able to find it because other resellers are passing on it. For instance, I think a couple of weeks ago, I found a Rhoback men's hat at the bins in the handbag section where they throw belts, ties, things like that in there. And nobody wanted the hat, but it was right there. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was selling for $50 to $60 pre-owned. Definitely keep your eye out for this brand, and again, just about anything. The third brand, and I'm having to go a little bit fast here, so if you guys want to know range of amounts of how much stuff is selling for, make sure to do your research on that. But all of these things are at least selling for $25 or higher. Most of these brands within this first section of the bolo list are, I would say, selling anywhere from pre-owned wise, 35 all the way up to 70, depending on what you have. The third one is the brand William Murray, which I know I've passed on this brand a lot, and I just recently decided to look it up when I came across it at the thrift store, and I was like, oh crap, because after checking comps, I realized that it was a really great brand with a really great sell-through rate. I know some of you might be thinking, does this have anything to do with the actor Bill Murray? And it kind of does. So this was not made by Bill Murray, but from what I've read, it is inspired by Bill Murray and the life of him and his brothers. So Bill Murray inspired William Murray. Great brand to remember, and I think you're not going to forget it after this video. This next one is a brand new brand to me, and one that I am definitely going to be looking out for. And I find it so interesting that I haven't come across it because there's actually quite a bit of information on eBay about this brand, but I think it's more up and coming, but there is a lot of it out there already. And the brand is called Holderness and Born. Very high sell-through rates. I'm going to be looking forward to finding this brand in person. It looks like they make all kinds of stuff in their brand, and just about everything sells. Another new to me brand, and this is the only one that I actually have specifically for golf shoes, although I did see they make clothing that was doing pretty good as far as comping goes as well. There was just so little data that I couldn't really gauge for the clothing. But in terms of golf shoes, which is what they're known for, very high sell-through rates and very great comps. And that brand is called True Linkswear. So again, those ones are specifically for golf shoes. Next up, another new to me brand, and again, I found this one by searching some different websites. It's called East Side Golf, and I can't tell if it is made from the same creators of Nike Air Jordan or if they just did collabs with them sometime, but either way, they are associated in some way. This is definitely one that I feel like if you're not paying attention and you didn't look it up, you would definitely pass on, because I feel like the tag is just very simple, and so is the clothing. So East Side Golf. And the last brand on the bullet list before we dive into the honorable mentions is a brand that is very new to me, but I have sold it once, and great sell-through rate. It is Malbon, I think is how you pronounce it, Malbon. Malbon Golf. They also have many different things that they sell in the clothing line, and all of them are selling extremely well. We're halfway through the video, so let me know down in the comments below, first on the BOLA list that we just went over, did you guys know every single one of those brands? I think it's a common misconception on my channel that I only sell women's clothing, but we actually sell a ton of men's clothing. I just don't find as much of it as I do the women's clothing, but if I had the same abundance of men's clothing as I did women's clothing, I would probably only sell men's clothing and niche down, because I absolutely love selling it. There are so many great brands, and they tend to sell a lot quicker than women's brands as well. I do have a lot of knowledge in men's brands if you guys want to see more of these videos. Before we dive into the honorable mentions, speaking of just knowledge of men's brands, specifically in the golfwear category, I have noticed that I don't know if it's necessarily a brand, it is a brand of like golf equipment. It's called Titleist, but they do a lot of collaborations with different brands, and there are a lot of brands that will have the Titleist logo embroidered onto one of these brands' golf polos. Like I mentioned before, that can make a huge difference either in the positive or the negative direction of both how much an item will sell for and the sell-through rates. This really isn't a brand, but just a tip: if you guys see anything at all in clothing that has Titleist embroidered onto it or that logo, I would definitely look it up, because sell-through rate is very high. All right, into the honorable mentions. Again, these are brands that do not have a 100% sell-through rate, like an all-encompassing pick up everything in this brand. But most of these do have at least a 50% sell-through rates, if not much higher, but it really depends on what you get in these brands. The first one, and this is definitely one I have passed on a lot and didn't know it, is J. Lindenberg. In the men's category of the golfwear stuff, they do perform pretty well. And I did try to stick with brands in this video that mainly focus on golf wear. Like, I am aware that there's like, I don't know, let's say Polo Ralph Lauren or their RLX line that does sell golf stuff that can do decent, but it's just not really a brand that is known for golf wear, so I excluded a lot of those brands in the video. So J. Lindenberg, first one on the honorable mentions list. Looks like these were selling anywhere from like 25 to 40. Next one is Loudmouth Golf, and this brand is pretty true to its name. It is very loud, it's vibrant. They make some pretty wacky stuff. And I remember a couple years ago, this brand was an absolute bolo and had over a 100% sell-through rate. Not the case anymore, but their stuff is still selling. And depending on what you have, it can go for quite a bit, and it can also sell quickly. But again, it really depends on what you have. I recently sold a bunch of loudmouth golf shorts. I think they all went for about 30 bucks. You guys might have seen them in the what sold videos. When we did comps on those, not 100% sell-through rate, but we had a good feeling about them. So they make polos, shorts, I think is mostly what they're known for. So keep your eye out for loudmouth golf. The next brand is a newer brand to me, and we've been picking up quite a bit of this brand actually. It is, I think it's pronounced Kjus, Kjus. Again, a tag you'd probably pass on if you didn't know what you were looking for. Most of their stuff is pretty neutral colored also, so I would definitely keep your eye out for this one. And a brand I think you guys all know about, and one on the honorable mentions list, is FootJoy. This brand also used to have a 100% sell-through rate, but it's become slightly oversaturated, and it really depends on what you have. Tip for you guys, in this brand, they do sell like jackets and stuff like that, which are obviously going to have higher value. They also have certain lines within the brand, like they have one called Dry Joys, which is more of like a water resistant or waterproof kind of thing. That can make a big difference. They do especially well in larger sizes like 2XL and higher. And one thing that makes a humongous difference in this brand specifically that we did talk about at the beginning of the video was if it had a print or not. In this brand, most of the time you are going to find solid color polos and things like that. But if you're able to find a multicolor print, whether that's floral, geometric, or whatever, if it's got any print of any kind on it, it can make a big difference in comps. Next up, one I'm sure you guys have heard of, very similar to FootJoy, they have lots of different lines, is Peter Millar. This brand is well known for their golf stuff. Also used to be 100% sell-through rate, not so much anymore. But depending on what you have and the size and all of that stuff, prints can be a good pickup. One little tip for you that I have in this brand specifically is this brand has a lot of stuff that has the Masters logo embroidered on it, and they also did a collaboration where the tag will actually say Masters Peter Millar. I'll pop both tags up here, the regular tag and that Masters one. But if you guys see either the Masters tag or that Masters embroidery on a shirt, definitely increasing the value and the sell-through rate. So you definitely want to look that up, and you want to make sure you know what this Masters logo is. Similarly to FootJoy, if you guys find a print on a Peter Millar polo shirt, definitely going to increase value as well. Next up is the brand Cricut. This brand has a pretty decent sell-through rate. They're only going for like $20, $25, but it is a brand that I would know about because they can be a quick pickup at the bins. And the very last one is the brand Grayson. I want to make sure you guys know how to spell this because there are a lot of brands that are very similar and sound the exact same, but they are different brands. This one is Greyson, and I think their actual full name is like Grayson Clothiers or something like that. But Grayson Golf Clothing does pretty decent. Again, not 100% sell-through rates, but some other stuff, depending on what you have, can sell well. All right, you guys, so that is it for today's men's golf wear deep dive. Let me know what you guys think about this list. Did you know everything on this list? And what do you guys think about the honorable mentions? If you guys have any men's golfer brands that do well for you, put them in the comments down below, as well as any tips you think I might have missed during this video. If you guys aren't already, make sure to subscribe down below and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified every single time I post videos. And if you are interested in seeing more deep dives about specific categories like this, we do a lot of these over in the Resellers Edge group. Specifically right now, we are going over some vintage categories, and everyone in the group is loving these deep dives. Link for that is down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.